There's no way mentally they're going to let what happened last season against Roma, where obviously they were 4-1 up going into the second leg, losing that 3-0, happen again. But it did happen again. And they were weak in the second half, and they offered nothing, and they deserved to go out. How?
Well,
they can't defend, right?
Can't handle the pressure when it gets put on like this, obviously. Are heavily reliant on, amazingly heavily reliant on Messi. And for, obviously Liverpool, look, it shouldn't have been a surprise. Liverpool are going to come out the blocks at home and try and pressurise and try and get balls in the box and try and ruffle the feathers. But their experience, they should be able to handle that. But what typified it for me, and I mentioned it, was the corner. But more importantly, what typifies, I think, is the mentality, is that the likes of Piqué and Busquets and other huge World Cup winners, they've actually switched off as well. They should have been organising. Right. If they saw somebody turn the back, that person should have been clipped round the ear. But they all let it happen. And once that momentum got going, they couldn't stop it.
The big question was, how are you going to stop Messi? They stopped him. He had 2 attacking touches, I think, in the second half.
Well, they played some good passes through. A couple of good passes through.
No, in the first half,
yes.
Coutinho had the chance, Suarez, but both of them fluffed their lines. But Messi's always the big talking point.
Yeah, but in general, because they were going that way. The key against somebody like him is to limit the amount of times he gets the ball, and the way you do that is by being up the other end of the field. Now, Barcelona, individually, if you go through the back four, for example, I think we can excuse Piqué a little. His legs have gone a little bit, he can't get around. But the others, Jordi Alba was embarrassing defensively. Langley runs around as if he's not quite sure where he's going. And Sergio Roberto, one-on-one defender was awful. So,
well, he's not a right back. That's part of the issue.
Well, don't play him. You've got Semedo, who's definitely a better defender, but then he picks him. But the biggest shock is the middle of the park. There's nobody in world football more experienced than Busquets. And Rakitic has just come off playing in a World Cup final. They were absolutely nowhere. They never made any challenges. They never did anything to affect the game. And then you got Vidal, who's running around trying, but kind of wasting his energy. And again, with the experience they have, it's one thing to say defending is not our best. It's not our best characteristic. But with experience, surely with Piqué and Messi and Busquets and Rakitic, you can at least get around everybody and get a decent defensive shape. They had no shape, they had holes everywhere, and you lose 4 goals.
You talk about the attacking half of Barcelona today that was largely inexistent. Part of that has to do with the fact that those players that you're talking about in the midfield, and now you're absolutely correct, Stevie, Rakitic, Busquets, Vidal, when the ball came into those areas, more likely than not, Liverpool had 2 or 3 players in and around those players, and turnovers were happening. And turnovers were happening in bad areas. And when that happens, if you're Liverpool, you take another step forward. And then another step forward. And eventually you're parked on Barcelona's half where now they can't get out. And because it is not in Barcelona's makeup to just say, you know what, we're going to put it over there. We're going to kick it 30, 40, 50 yards over that in that direction. And we're going to push our lines forward. And hopefully we're going to win something over there. And maybe we regain possession of the ball over there. They don't do that. They don't do that. It's not their philosophy. But if it's not happening in the midfield and you're turning the ball over time and time again, and you're turning the ball over in the back line as well, and you're inviting Liverpool to continue to pressure you, at some point you got to change it. At some point there's got to be a flexibility and understanding from experienced players. You know what? We can't just try to pass out of trouble here because it's not working for us. It's not. So let's take the air out of this game in a different way. Let's put it over there, fight for it over there, and then we get our lines forward. It never happened for Barcelona. The midfield, and I'll repeat this, the lack of athleticism was so clear. The speed of play by Barcelona as compared to Liverpool and the speed with which Liverpool pressured Barcelona and their inability to react to it was surprising in a negative way for Barcelona. You would think that if there was a team that could play out of pressure, would be Barcelona. Not so.
They're leggy in the middle of the park.
Yes, they are.
They're very leggy. And one of the things I think here is Vidal will run about. But Rakitic, I think he spent from the whole year last year and then going all the way through the World Cup, straight back in. See, Modric has not had a great year. There are others. and he looked that way. But he's beside a guy who still is technically a good player. But Sergio Busquets has been around for ever and a day, and he's not that old. But he looks like you're going to buy a car, and it's absolutely polished and shiny, and you lift the boot up, and it's done 250,000 miles. And that's how he looks, because he's been in this Barcelona team since I can remember. He plays almost every game, and he just, whilst he's tidy and he can pass it, and he's a clever player, he can't get around the field anymore.
For more, sign up now for ESPN Plus.